Hello everybody, welcome along. My name's Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us for our dearly departed round 25 review. We are looking as ever at the fortunes of Leeds, Villa, Norwich, Watford, Brentford. Those teams that I've covered in the Championship that have found their way up. I very much enjoy doing this show, but of course the nature of it is that sometimes these teams, they very rarely all win. In fact, they never all win, do they? And sometimes none of them win. And sadly, this is one of those weeks. But we often learn more from defeat and the situation gets crystallised a bit more. So still plenty to talk about. We'll get into that imminently. Just say a big thank you to Simon, who is our fan sponsor. Got involved over on Patreon. Simon, 25 years as a Brentford fan, finally bust up in Hounslow in the Premier League. We say a big, huge thank you to Simon. This will always be free on YouTube, but if you do find value in what I do here, you can get involved over at patreon.com/BenjaminBloom like Simon did, and we thank him profusely for his support. Here are the weekend's results, and yes, not a single goal in sight. Brentford 0, Palace 0, Everton 3, Leeds 0, Watford 0, Brighton 2, Norwich 0, Man City 4, Newcastle 1, Aston Villa 0. Bit gnarly, so we won't stand on ceremony. As ever, we'll go from the highest ranked team to the lowest, and that would be Aston Villa. So we'll start up in Newcastle, where it was Newcastle United 1, Aston Villa 0, and Aston Villa become the latest victims of this. It's one of those weird runs, isn't it? This good but not good run by Newcastle. It's they're winning games, the Magpies, aren't they? They've improved their squad and the mood is good and they're pointing in the right direction. Are they massively convincing? No, probably not. But I'm sure the Newcastle fans will be thinking, well, okay, the points are going on the board. We're out of the bottom three. That all looks good. So, fair play to Newcastle, you have to say. And if they do trend up in terms of performances to match the results, then they'll definitely be moving up that Premier League table like a lot of us expected they would. And this is bad news as well for particularly Norwich and Watford, who we're going to talk about later on in the show. We should be focusing on Aston Villa here. A little bit slippy from Villa of late. They had that win, didn't they, Villa, against Everton, but Everton were kind of in a weird status then, weren't they, in respects of Benitez has gone and Lampard hadn't quite arrived. Otherwise, it's not the best run for Villa. Since they beat Norwich, lost to Chelsea, okay, whatever, Chelsea are good. Lost to Brentford, FA Cup finalists, disregard that, focus on the Premier League. 2-2 draw with Man United, the win against Everton, and then the draw against Leeds. Okay, 5 points there, but could it have been more? And there's only one win in there. And then this defeat now does mean, in all comps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one win in 7. So, arguably, the only downturn so far in Stevie Gerrard's Villa career. Of course, in the early days, he was beating everybody other than the 3 big elite teams, wasn't he? But this is more pronounced. I don't want to say bad run, but in terms of output, in terms of points, it's the most pronounced bad run we've had for Stevie Gerrard at Villa. So, yeah, he strikes me as a very single-minded fella. I'm sure he'll be working on turning this around. Dearly departed Derby for them next against Watford. Here is your Villa team. Martinez, Digne and Cash, Mings and Chambers. How many games Chambers gets, I don't know. Konsa's suspended. He can only do what he can do when he's on the pitch, and we'll see if his performance in this game is enough to warrant more minutes. I suspect Konsa comes back in though, doesn't he, when he's not suspended. McGinn, Louise and Ramsey, who was fantastic dovetailing with Phil Coutinho in the game against Leeds. So Ramsey and Coutinho down that sort of inside left channel. Watkins and Buendia is the rest of the front three. For the Geordies, Dubravka, Trippier, Shah, Byrne, Manquillo, Joe Linton, Shelby, Willock, Fraser, Wood, St. Maximan. And we kind of got to talk about VAR stuff. Not really VAR controversy, but both of the key moments we're going to mention just in respects of the action in this one were checked out and checked over by VAR. This is the opening goal of the game, and in fact, of course, the only goal of the game on 35. Now, Prior to this, it's Willock sort of gets his foot trodden on the edge of the area, inside, outside, all of that good stuff. They went away and checked it, and there was a big, huge hold. It says on my screen here, penalty cancelled 32, and the goal, Trippier, which is literally the next kick, a direct free kick, 35. So, I don't know, I'd be interested in your thoughts in the comment, actually. Does the long hold, does that affect the defensive team, especially when the free kick is this close to the goal? I'm interested in your thoughts on that. Look, Trippier is a brilliant set play guy. We've known that from watching England for the longest times. Literally put in by Southgate and played at left back out of position to get his set play quality in the team. So we know how good he is, and he got one, didn't he, against Everton as well. This wasn't his greatest, but he literally just blasts it right down the middle. Can you see Emi Buendia in there? I think he's just kind of hidden behind the Newcastle player on the edge of the wall there. And I think Martinez saves this. So it's no blame on Buendia. The ball's blasted out. He tries to get something on it. It's one of those that just like ricochets up off his leg, off his thigh, I think. And then Martinez can't save it. And Newcastle get their noses in front then on 35 minutes. The other VAR issue comes in the second half, and it's one of those, isn't it? One of those glorious microscope ones where that ball is headed into the net, ultimately, you can see, by Ollie Watkins, who is, according to the lines, offside. Now, we've been here a million times. We've talked about this a million times. Whatever the standard is on VAR, there has to be a last millimetre. And in the main, I'm not accusing Aston Villa fans specifically of this, in the main, fans on the receiving end of really tight VAR decisions often go down the road of it being bad luck and become mistrusting of the equipment. You know, how do you judge where that line's going? You know, we've discussed that until the cows come home. Unfortunately for Villa and for the dearly departed in general, especially on this week, because we would have loved the goal, there has to be a last millimetre, a last centimetre. Where do you draw the line? And you are just going to get moments like this where it looks incredibly tight and incredibly sort of pedantic in terms of, you know, player. I mean, I suppose the Newcastle fans would argue that their player is miles out doing nothing in particular. But if he's playing him on, he's playing him on. And Watkins, if his big toenail is off, he's off. It is what it is. And it's an annoying one, especially on a weekend where there was no goals for the dearly departed team. So that one gets chalked off, and Newcastle go on to win the game. And when I said earlier in the video, Newcastle, this good run that's kind of not good. Look at the XG numbers over on the right. 0.53 vs 0.54. Just nothing particularly much created in this game. And given some of the players on the pitch, quite surprising. But obviously just a very, very tight, very fraught affair. One shot on target for Villa and 2 shots on target for Newcastle. And barely 1 XG between the two teams. Maybe go figure why it ended up 1 goal in a game with 1 XG's worth of goals. Look, read into the numbers what you will. The state of play at the moment with Newcastle is it does get nervous and it does get fraught, as I said, in St James's Park. And I just think the Villa fans would have hoped maybe they could have played on that a little bit more than perhaps they were available or they were able to. And it's a shutout, and yeah, well, they need a win, and it's Watford next up for Villa, and look, they'll have that one circled. But as we always say, when two dearly departed teams play each other, both teams normally have it circled. Just given you know we're covering ex-Championship teams, so interested in Villa fans' thoughts on Gerrard sort of getting this back on track, really, and. You know, the expectations at Villa are high, but they're not expecting, 5 wins in every 7 games all the time. But Watford coming up at home, Brighton away, Southampton, okay, West Ham, Arsenal, Wolves, Spurs, Liverpool, then it gets trickier. So I do think those next 3 games particularly, it's going to be wanting 4, 5, hopefully 6 points across those 3 games, isn't he, Gerrard, to point us in the right direction and back towards the top half of the table. Let me know your thoughts on that one. It was Newcastle 1, Aston Villa 0. Okay, up next, we're going to get a point, okay? We may not get any goals this round, but we are going to get a point. Brentford 0, Crystal Palace 0, and it's small mercies, I guess, because Brentford were on a big losing streak, weren't they? And they've got themselves a point and they've got themselves a clean sheet. And if you're on a losing streak, just don't lose, you know? You just look for things to sort of pick up on, don't you? And yeah, how long was the losing streak? Let me have a little click on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-game losing streak. To be fair, Everton away in the FA Cup, they played Manchester City. Wolves have been good. Man United, Liverpool as well. Maybe losing 4-1 at Southampton. Okay, that's not the one, is it? But can we get a little run back now for Brentford? They had been plummeting somewhat down the table, which we will have a look at the end of the show. Here is your Bees team against Crystal Palace in one of many millions of London derbies. Could be even more next season, couldn't they? With Fulham. QPR right up at the top of the league as well. Interesting. David Raya in goal for the Bees. Asia Janssen Pinnock. Henry Canos. Janelt Norgard Jensen. And Buemo Visa. For Crystal Palace, Gaeta in goal. It is Ward, Anderson, Gray and Mitchell across the back. Gallagher, Hughes and Schlupp. Ayew, Edouard and Wilf Zaha is the front 3. It's a 0-0 with a few little interesting wrinkles, and we'll analyse the numbers. But again, from a Brentford point of view, you're on a losing streak, stop losing. You get a clean sheet. You can play it either way when it's a draw. You can say, oh, if it's a scoring draw, well, we're scoring goals at least. Or if it's a non-scoring draw, we're not conceding any goals. So my glass does tend to be half full most of the time on Dearly Departed. It has to be, doesn't it? Here's an interesting one. That is Mark Gray. And you can see, I think that's referee Hooper, isn't it? He's got a really good view of that one. And of course, the VAR is going to have a better view than anyone. So I don't think there's any question here that the ball hits the hand in the, below the sleeve, way below the sleeve. And I don't think there's any question that the arm is in an unnatural position. Does Norgard foul Gray? There's not a great deal in it, is there? I'm sure, we always look for non-Brentford fans or non-Crystal Palace fans to talk about this, because all the Brentford fans will think it was not a foul, and all the Crystal Palace fans will think it was a foul. But yeah, it'd be interesting if any of the Leeds, Norwich, Watford, Villa fans are commenting on that. Was that a foul by Norgard? Because if it wasn't, it should be a penalty, shouldn't it? Even without Ivan Toney in the team. There is a decent chance that for Crystal Palace, they just get played in down the right-hand side. I think that is Jordan Ayew in that inside right channel. I mean, David Raya's got his angles right there, but we all know there's 2 finishes. The lashed finish to the near post, and power scores on that one normally, doesn't it? The really accurate early shot to the far post. Maybe Raya's got that one covered there, but possibly as good as it got for Palace. But this is Rico Henry and Wilf Zaha in the box. I don't want to sound like a dearly departed apologist, but a picture paints 1,000 words, but never judge a foul on a still is all I will say. And yes, Rico Henry's arm is around Wilf Zaha there, but I think he's already going to ground, isn't he? I'm not sure. I think this is cause and effect, and yes, a still can always be very damning, but he's already going to ground, possibly there. Do I sound like a big Brentford apologist there? Probably do, don't I? That was all she wrote. Brentford will feel they should have won this one, despite the fact that they did keep the clean sheet and they did end their losing streak. I'm looking at the big chance count and I'm looking at the shot map in particular. Their XG 1.80 and no goals. Is that the absence of Ivan Toney? I don't know. They still had Mbeumo in up top, didn't they? But I think from a Brentford point of view, to stop the losing run was obviously vital. We'll analyse it in the context of the table at the end of the show. But, look, it is what it is. They didn't lose. They got a clean sheet. Okay, a win would have been lovely. Arsenal away next. Oh, Newcastle at home. Can they get 2-3 points from those? We will see how that all pans out. Get your thoughts in. It was Brentford 0, Crystal Palace 0. Over on Merseyside, it was Everton 3, Leeds United 0. Bielsa coming up against his old mate Frank Lampard. And Everton pretty convincing with the win. And this inconsistent season for Leeds just rolls on, doesn't it? We now have 1 point in the last 3. And I believe Man United, Liverpool, Spurs, the next 3 games. So, the doomsday scenario says Leeds could be closer to that drop zone. They do seem to have a decent enough cushion for it not to be terribly, terribly scary. Newcastle are obviously moving away as well, as we mentioned a few times in this video. We'll look at the table later. Let's just hone in on this game. Meslier in goal for Leeds. Llorente, Koch and Strauick. Ayling, Dallas, Click, Rafinha, Rodrigo, Harrison, Dan, James. And sorry, Leeds fans, I do it every single week. I'm going to do it again. The 2 names we mentioned are Calvin Phillips and Patrick Bamford there, but they're not far off full strength, are they? In terms of numbers, but in terms of those 2 being key, yes, it's an issue. But hey, we've done that one to death, haven't we? There's your Everton team. Pickford, Coleman, Holgate, Keane, Kenny, Gordon, Iwobi wide, Van der Beek, Alan, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. And a real sense here that Everton went for Leeds and swept them away in this game. They got on the front foot. We all know how open Leeds can be in terms of whilst they're attacking and what they leave you, on transition. So, were Everton able to capitalise? Maybe they were here in this one. This is Seamus Coleman. And you have to say fair play because he's playing right back and he's in pretty much the number 9 position there. Calvert-Lewin's got on the end of the cross. It's parried out and Coleman is just able to head in over the line on 10 minutes. And then only 23 minutes in. Oh, actually, we're not going to go to a second goal. Sorry. I wanted to put a couple of these up because there's no way we can argue that Leeds made a lot of chances in this game. They didn't, but Rodrigo had 2 banging shots. That one on the half volley, dipping half volley, going to smash against the bar. Another one later in the game. Anyway, 23rd minute, and it's just a set play. It's poor, isn't it, to concede straight from a set play. Gordon puts the corner in, and they've gone for that kind of love train lineup, and Michael Keane gets the header on the back post, and you've gone away from home, and you're 2 down in 23 minutes. And yes, we all know how Mr. Bielsa's going to react to that one. And double substitution at half-time. Forshaw in for Click. Roberts in for Rafinha. Interesting. There's that second Rodrigo shot, which also smashes against the bar again. For any triggered Everton fans watching this, I'm not saying Leeds made loads of chances. I just wanted to show they went quite close from 2 quite low percentage chances, but great efforts by Rodrigo. Quite unlucky that neither of them found the back of the net. But look, here is how to find the back of the net. It is Richarlison, Gordon, another... other way around. Gordon with the goal. That's not Gordon, it's Richarlison, isn't it? Is going to stick that in the net. Does it hit Gordon on the way through then? That's why I'm getting confused. It looks like Richarlison's gonna hit the shot, and perhaps Gordon is there furthest forward. And it's just going to deflect in off him. give me there. A lot of football this weekend. It does sneak in the corner, and maybe that sums everything up when you look at where Rodrigo was for that particular shot, and Richarlison is for that one. And, if it's happening, it's happening. And if it's not, it's not. And it really wasn't happening for Leeds in this one. And I have to say the numbers do not look good. You got to give Everton some credit for going for it. 10 shots on target to 0. That is not good at all, is it? 4 big chances to 0. Look at the XG, 2.59 to Everton, 0.34 to Leeds. So what I hope we're saying is that this was a bit of an aberration, a bit of an outlier. Everton caught Leeds. They got in front and they were able to leverage that and just go for it and go for it and go for it. Maybe Leeds were slightly unlucky to hit the post a couple of times, but I don't think any of us can. I'm sure all our Leeds friends in the comments not going to be arguing, oh, Ben, we were unlucky. It sounds like they were pretty well beaten in this one. We can analyse this in terms of the rest of the league table later on in the show. But, 1 point in 3. And you do get these odd performances from Leeds, don't you, where they do just go under and the defence just completely fragments. And, haven't got going at all this season, have they, into any consistent run of 4, 5, 6 games of decent enough form. I'm not talking 12 points from 6 games even, or even a 8, 9 or 10 or something like that. Just has not happened. And, well, you tell me, Leeds fans, how worried are you about the next 3 games? Because it is Manchester United, Liverpool, Tottenham. I think it was those 3, Liverpool, Manchester United, Tottenham. I can't remember in what exact order. But I had a look ahead and it is 3 tricky ones, isn't it? Probably the most Leeds thing in the world would be to win 2 of those and then lose to someone who's perceived to be an easier game somewhere down the line. Listen, we'll talk about the table, but there is a gap, and I do think there is a gap in quality between, hate to say it because we're about to work on them, Norwich and Watford, and maybe Burton at the bottom, and Leeds. But look, the current trends are what they are, and maybe not bottom 3 pushing up on Leeds, but certainly Newcastle and Everton is now a rival down there in that bottom 6. So, get your head around that one, Leeds fans. Let me know what you think. Is it just an aberration and an outlier, and will there be a pick-up? Or, can this go worse than 6th bottom? I don't know how many places worse it would go, but will it get worse? Let me know your thoughts and your whys and wherefores in the comments. Gnarly 1, Everton 3, Leeds 0. Speaking of gnarly, this is Norwich 0, Manchester City 4. Been full of praise for Norwich in recent weeks. They've answered the questions of their supporters about heart and fight and grit and determination and running and tackling and all that simple stuff that really, when they were passing their way through the Championship, wasn't top of the priority list. And they kind of made it top of the priority list recently, and 2 up top, get in there. It's been working, hasn't it? But they just come up against Pep and Man City this weekend, and, as many teams do, taken a bit of a battering, let's just say. There is your Norwich team, Gunn in goal. It's settled, isn't it, across the back? I'm sure Krul, if fit, would come back in. But Gunn, he's not doing terribly, is he? Aarons, Hanley, Gibson and Williams. McLean, Lees-Melou and Gilmore. Rasica, Pukki and Sargent. And here comes the stars of Manchester City. Ederson, Walker, Diaz, Aki, Zinchenko, Silva, Fernandinho, Gundogan, Sterling, Foden and Mahrez. And I know I'm supposed to be talking about Norwich, but they are just freakishly good, Manchester City, aren't they? Just in terms of when you think Pep Guardiola was always thought of as this 3-year guy who's intense and he would put his life into a job. And he must have... How long has he been at Man City now? 5 years? And their standards are still so damn high, it's ludicrous. Anyway, let's put the Norwich fans out of their misery and just get this done. Sterling, goal number 1 on 31 minutes. Walker slides him in and he bends it in the far corner. Quality from the England man. We should mention Grant Hanley did hit the post for Norwich, but it would be remiss of me to sit here and pass this off as, Norwich went close and then Manchester City. Man City had plenty of chances in this game, as the numbers are going to show us, but it's worth making mention of that. Bernardo Silva hit the post as well, didn't he, before? Sterling opens the scoring. Here is Phil Foden, just a bit of an ugly one. This one, they get in down that left-hand side. It gets cut back and bounce. He just manages to force it. Doesn't even hit the net, just forces it over the goal line there. Foden for 2-0. Again, Sterling left free here. It's headed across, back across the box there by Ruben Diaz. And Sterling heads it over the line. And then a penalty in the 90th minute. I don't know. You tell me. I mean, it makes no odds to the scoreline. The outcome. Of course, it makes odds to the scoreline because it went from 3-0 to 4-0, didn't it? But is that really a penalty? Hanley. Okay, is there contact with the feet? I don't know. Not for me, Clive. Anyway, it got given. Sterling sticks it in. Sorry, I haven't got a picture of it, apparently. Parried out, sticks it in with the left foot. Lots of people going on about a perfect hat-trick when a penalty's missed and then stuck in with the left foot. I'm not so sure about that either. But hey, I'm not denigrating on Man City, who are just brilliant, aren't they? So they have my utmost respect. However the fourth goal did come and however you want to describe England's Raheem Sterling and his hat-trick. I mean, look, it's just absolutely dominant, isn't it? 71% possession, 22 shots, 12 corners, 6 big chances to 0. 4.55 on the XG. Could have been a cricket score. We come out with platitudes like this a lot, but I'm going to say it again. Norwich's season is not defined upon games against Manchester City. Unfortunately for the Canaries, after that good run, and they did draw in the week, didn't they, against Palace. They do now play Liverpool as well. So, let's be honest, it's an away trip to Liverpool. You're forecasting a defeat there. You'd assume Salah and Mane will probably be back in the starting lineup together. And, yes, move on then to the games against Southampton, Liverpool in the Cup, Brentford and Leeds. That's the one, isn't it? Brentford and Leeds. Can Norwich get themselves 5 points in the games between Southampton, Brentford and Leeds? That's what they're going to need to do to keep things close. But I suppose the worry for Norwich now is Newcastle, isn't it? That and you can read it either way, as we said earlier in the show. Newcastle are winning without massively convincing, but they're winning. That goes one of two ways. Either the results drop off and the performances stay where they are, or the performances catch up with the results, in which case they will find their way up, probably even higher than 17th in the table. So I'm sure if you're a Norwich fan, you're hoping it's going to drop back off. But yes, concerning times, and all eyes on the start of March there, particularly in Brentford and Leeds. Possibly some chances to pick up points, and I can see Burnley coming in April as well. Interesting times ahead for Norwich. The run's over, but I mean, you tell me, Norwich fans watching, what can you read into a battering from Manchester City, who are, they're light years ahead of any team that comes up from the Championship, aren't they? I know Norwich beat them a couple of years back, didn't they? Leeds drew against them, but right where we are now, I don't really know how much we read into this in terms of what does it tell us about whether Norwich are going to survive or not. Not a great deal, really, does it? So, fingers crossed for those Norwich fans that it tells us absolutely nothing and they can have another 2-3 game win streak, which may move the needle. Get your thoughts in, a bit of a hammering. Norwich 0, Man City 4. And finally, it was Watford 0, Brighton 2, and in a depressing dearly departed show, this is probably the most depressing bit for us. Okay, Villa have been doing well. They lost, fine, they're halfway up the table. Brentford, yeah, okay, they're punching. Leeds aren't quite in trouble. Norwich lost to Man City. But Watford, it's a bit concerning. Roy Hodgson's gone in there. They haven't scored a goal yet under Roy the Boy. Yes, they've got 1 point, a 0-0 draw with Burnley. Excuse me, but it's small mercies at the moment for Watford. And, things don't look good, do they? 2-0 home defeat, this one against Brighton. Foster in goal. Firmino, Cathcart, Samir, Kamara, Cleverley, Kambe, Sissoko, Kuchka, King and Dennis. Now, knowing Roy Hodgson as we do over many, many years of watching him, he does tend to stick with stuff and let it play out and let it build up. So maybe one positive is he's found a shape. He's found a selection he wants to kind of go with from now, and you hopefully build on that. But it's the lack of goals that's worrying, because we know Hodgson's a defensively minded manager and a team shaped guy, and he will get clean sheets. But then he wins at some point, and time is a ticking for Roy and Watford in more ways than one, isn't it? For Brighton, who they don't lose many games at all, do they? Only 4 this season. Only the elite teams at the top have lost fewer games than Brighton. Sanchez in goal, Veltman, Dunk, Webster, Lallana, Lamptey, Cucurella wide, Grossmoder, Mopai and Danny Welbeck. Here is the opening goal, and I'm a big fan of Neil Mopai from the Brentford days back in the Championship, so don't think I'm piling in on the player, but there's no way he means to put that heads up go. Cross comes in from Lamptey, and I watch the slow-mo. He shins this, doesn't it? It looks really good because he kind of hooks the volley and it spins up and flies in the top corner. But yeah, I'm not having that's exactly how that was supposed to go, but it is what it is. And with Watford at the moment, a hooked volley maybe with a little bit off the shin is flying in the top corner, isn't it? Brighton lead then through Mopai's goal just before half-time as well. 1-0 Brighton. This is unlucky, isn't it? It's Dennis. He comes in off the left-hand side. He works his way in and he smacks it against the crossbar. And, you think about the Mopai goal and Dennis hitting the bar then. It's fine margins. It's very, very fine margins. But unfortunately, when you have a confident team trending up versus a not confident team trending down, this is what tends to happen. The Mopai one flies in the top corner and the Dennis one bashes off the crossbar, doesn't it? This is poor, isn't it? Come on, Watford, 83rd minute. Roy will be furious with this. Look at how many players have stood there watching as well. And Webster gets 3 goes at this as well. 1 with the header, then 2 block shot. And he puts it in at the 3rd attempt with a watching cast of many, many yellow and black Hornet shirts. 83rd minute, set play goal. And again, the Roy Hodgson playbook says be hard to beat. Don't give away easy chances. Don't concede from set plays, for goodness sakes. It's very percentage stuff often with Roy. And he will not be tolerating that, will he? And it's 2-0 to Brighton. The numbers, it's just not great, is it, guys? The big upside of Hodgson is the opponents won't concede many chances. The opponents won't make many chances. They won't get behind. There'll be a solid shade there in front of the goal. And maybe then frustration and overcommitment and, there's a chance up the other end on transition or something of that nature. But yeah, look at the numbers there. Look over at the shot map and the XG. Watford just don't create a lot, do they? 0.6 on the XG, 2.12 for Brighton, and then 6 shots on target to 1 in Brighton's favour. 2 big chances to 0 for Brighton as well. So, unfortunately for Watford and, the Watford fans watching, that's not viable. We're not sitting here and going, okay, unlucky, played well and lost. It's coming. It's not yet, is it? So Roy's had 3 games in there. 0-0 with Burnley, 1-0 against West Ham, okay, deflected goal. There's more of an argument there than there is here. Maybe you can argue the opponents, that Burnley, they've taken a point against, and then West Ham are 4th and Brighton are good, aren't they? They're 9th and they're just not losing. So maybe there's that one argument there that the opponents are going to even out for Watford, although they've got, it's a dearly departed derby next. They've got got Villa, Villa against Watford next game. Palace, Man United, Arsenal, Southampton, Everton that had beat earlier in the season. There's Leeds and Brentford in consecutive games in April. Burnley and Crystal Palace to end out that screen I've got up on there. Chelsea in the last game. So, look, those games I've just picked out, they need to be 1-0 wins pretty much, don't they? I don't know, 4 of them, maybe even more with some draws. Elsewhere, it's going to be hard for Roy and it's going to be hard for Watford. Get your thoughts in on that. Where is it going? What can he do, Roy? And how quickly will it happen? We need that Hodgson defence, and he then needs to get the best out of Sarr and João Pedro, Dennis and King, doesn't he, up the top? Can he do it? Has he got enough time? And is Newcastle pulling away going to be a big problem? We'll look at the table in a minute, but I'll get your comments in first on Watford 0, Brighton 2. Right, I've been promising you the table all show. Let's go from the bottom up. So Burnley are still bottom. However, they do have 2 games in hand on Watford, 3 on Norwich, 2 on Newcastle, 1 on Everton, and 2 on Leeds. We've got 4 games in hand on Brentford, way further up, 10 points up. So Burnley are a problem only if they up their current points per game in their games in hand. People are very foolhardy to add on 3 points to teams that have got games in hand. But it's mad to do that with Burnley. That's scored 14 points from 21 games. They're scoring 2/3 of a point per game. So the games in hand are worth 2 points every 3 games rather than 3 points every game. So maybe Burnley not that big an issue yet. But hey, they've survived before and they've lost far fewer games. Okay, the draw numbers are immense there. Watford and Norwich make up the rest of the bottom 3. And it's hard to see where it's going for those two, bearing in mind above the line, directly above, are Newcastle and Everton. Newcastle are trending up and moving away, aren't they? Everton had just put Lampard in. So there's 2 things at play here that are worrying. One is that Watford and Norwich are moving very slowly, and the other is look who they want to go backwards. And is that really going to cross over that way, or is it going to be more of that? Looking at the next couple of fixtures for Norwich, that might be the case for them. Not next couple, but the next fixture particularly is at Liverpool away, isn't it? And Watford, yeah, Roy Hodgson has just got to get it going. And what ultimately a Newcastle are going to do, excuse me. So there you go. More positively, Brentford, 25 played and points on the board. They're nearly at a point per game. They need a couple more wins, don't they? If Brentford win 2 more games, they'll have 30 points. And yeah, well, you tell me whether the bottom 3 are going to, or at what point the bottom 3 are going to get to 30 points. Could be a long one. Remember, last season they never got there, did they? I think it's 28 last season. Horribly low, wasn't it? Aston Villa, much higher up. There are leaders at the moment. They're in 12th. Of course, Leeds in 15th as well. So the table, I mean, look, at the moment we've got 2 going down and 3 surviving. Last year we had 3 go down and 2 surviving. So it could always be worse, couldn't it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Next fixtures, Brentford go to Arsenal. Of course, they beat them on the first game of the season. Aston Villa and Watford, dearly departed derby. As with all, both sides will have that one circled. Liverpool versus Norwich. It's hard, isn't it? Very hard. Leeds versus Manchester United. Oof. Can Leeds do something there? Can we get that Ellen Road crowd working in favour of the team. Get comments on all of that. That is our dearly departed round 25 review, looking at Leeds, Villa, Norwich, Watford and Brentford. Thanks as ever to Simon, our fan sponsor. Do go and get involved if you find a value in my content. Patreon.com/BenjaminBloom. As ever, get commenting, get subscribing, sharing, liking, all of that good stuff. And hopefully we're going to be back next week. We're going to have some goals. 1 goal, please, anyone? And 1 win or more than 1 point? That'd be nice. Hey ho. Thank you everybody for watching. That has been the dearly departed for another week. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/BenjaminBloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another